All right, fake news. Let's get it right. Let's get this one. I know y'all can get it right. When it come to Diddy all, I know there's Diddy all at the CNN headquarters. At the CNN headquarters, they got Diddy all in the cabinets. So I know y'all got to get it right. Let's go and hear it. Let's crank it.
About this latest note from the jury?
Sammy, did you hear me?
Casey, we have a verdict. We have a verdict from the jury. In the Sean Diddy Combs trial, we're told they sent a note just a few moments ago that the jury has reached a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. They are unable to reach a verdict on count 1 as we have jurors with unpersuadable opinions on both sides. Now to break that down, count 1 is RICO, the most complex charge here that could come with up to life in prison. The remaining charges include 2 counts of sex trafficking, 1 for each victim, Cassie Ventura and a pseudonym named Jane, and the last 2 in terms of translation into the form of prostitution. So we now know that on the RICO charge, it appears that the jury presently is hung. We do not yet know what the verdict is in the remaining counts, but suffice to say, over the last 7 weeks, the prosecution has been trying to persuade a jury of now 12 people with the alternates out that Sean Diddy Combs should serve the rest of his life in prison based on 5 felony counts. Now, the jurors are not to consider in any way, shape, or form the potential sentence, but this is huge. We are now the second day of deliberations. It has been a little more than, 10, 12 hours of deliberation, including notes, lunch breaks, and an overnight deliberative process. And here we have right now all these notes in between. We are waiting for the verdict, but also the judge to make a decision on count 1 and whether they should continue to deliberate, given called with the Allen charge, meaning go back and deliberate until you are most assuredly and precisely and finally hung. But according to these jurors, count 1, the RICO charge appears to be the one where they do not have unanimity among the 12.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
I don't need to deliberate. Hang that nigga now. I got the rope right here. I don't need to deliberate.
Yeah. Okay, that's how we're gonna start the show off today. This is all right. Yeah, the internet is undefeated. The internet's undefeated, y'all. Look, this is the internet, so y'all can't blame it on me now. You know, I know Fox is gonna hit it a little bit way better. Nobody watches CNN. You know, they got Diddy all in the cabinets. You know, but not looking good for old Diddy, huh? You got to put your hands behind your back. Yeah. In there touching on his mushroom tip. What's wrong with this fella? Licking all in the hole. Had to make an example out of you.
Dana, well, right now, from our courtroom producer, it seems, and bear in mind, there are a lot of moving parts right now coming from inside the courthouse, but right now it seems like the judge is going to instruct the jury to continue deliberations and emphasize that they should try to reach a verdict. And just to unpack what got us to this point, the judge, he looked at proposals from both prosecutors and the defense. The defense pointed out that there's a lot of material, and the jurors have been very efficient, but they didn't reach a verdict on count 1. And the defense thinks jurors don't need much help and they shouldn't be given a push to move along. The judge also asked the defense what it thought about the juror note that said jurors were unpersuadable on count 1 of racketeering conspiracy. The judge suggests that he would just tell them to go back in, continue to deliberate, continue to deliberate and not address their concern. The prosecutors argue that doing so would be asking for a repeat of the duty of jurors to reach a verdict. And so there was a lot of back and forth between this, and the notes we're getting from the courtroom, they're coming at rapid fire. But at this point, I can tell you the latest that we're hearing and we're reading from our producers inside is that it seems like right now the judge is going to instruct the jury to go back and continue deliberations. But I just got another note.
Deliberations.
Read this to our viewers.
Deliberations.
We just learned from our producer the defense wants to ask the jury at the end of
y'all remember the last time we had deliberations? Y'all remember that last court case? Let me know if you remember.
Day tomorrow, rather than now, if they would want to stay over the 3rd. I'm not sure what that means. We're going to need to get more clarification on that. But the defense has said they do not want jurors to feel rushed. The defense has
4th
said
of July is coming up, I would guess.
Rushed or stressed. And neither the defense or the prosecution objects to a July 3rd meeting, should it be necessary. And they say if they meet on July 3rd, this concern about racketeering conspiracy would be brought back up to the jury at that point. So that's a lot to unpack. But right now, we're reading the defense wants to ask the jury to stay till the end of the day tomorrow, rather than having the jurors feel rushed or stressed, and the jurors are being brought back in. So we're going to try to get more clarity on exactly what that means for the count 1 racketeering conspiracy, the charge that jurors said they were unable to reach a unanimous consensus. At this point, though, it seems like the defense has made an argument, a successful argument to the judge that jurors shouldn't be pushed any the jurors shouldn't be made to feel rushed about the stalemate, if you will, in their deliberations on count 1 of racketeering conspiracy. I'm going to send it back over to you.
Right, yes, Greg.
Could I say something? Breaking news here. The jury has reached a verdict in the Diddy trial, but an important reminder before we get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, here are all the photos of Diddy and President Trump, back when President Trump was the most powerful and richest man in New York City. The most powerful cultural force in New York, and Diddy was loving the fact that President Trump was paying.
What did he come out and say? White men like Trump should. I tell you, man. Oh man, what a disgrace! Everybody used to love President Trump. Everybody, man. Everybody you can think of. Your favorite celebrity, idol. Everybody used to love President Trump. Trump was that guy, man. Everybody was cool with, man. Everybody's like, yeah, that's Donald J right there. That's DJT. That's our boy. And soon as he came down that escalator, yeah, buddy, that's the boogeyman. Dictator, Hitler, threat to democracy. He's racist. He hates all race. He even hates some white people. I tell you. He's the boogeyman. He's the devil. He's the big bad orange man. I'll tell you, boy.
Attention to him. Diddy was regularly calling Trump, asking for business advice, wanting to be seen with him, wanting to have his photos taken with him. This was, of course, when Diddy thought that he could use Trump. The moment that the switch flipped for Diddy, and he was told by his handlers, by his operators, that Donald Trump was a threat, this is what Diddy did.
Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking is real dangerous.
White men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking is real dangerous, says Diddy, who's dressed whiter than Trump here. What a creep. What a freaking loser, this guy. Anyway, celebrity culture disgusts me. Diddy is a disgusting monster.
Hollyweird.
I hope that he rots in prison. The jury has notified the judge. They have returned a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the court, USA versus Combs. Well, this is wild. A very swift jury deliberation here. We'll get to what that might mean in just a second. The jury says they've reached a partial verdict in the Diddy Combs trial for counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, but not count 1. Okay, what is count 1? Count 1 is the RICO conspiracy charge, still undecided. But Diddy has reportedly been found guilty on counts 2 through 5. Now, that's just pure speculation, ladies and gentlemen. We'll tell you everything that we know. Here we go. Count 2, attempted rape through force or coercion. Count 3, sexual assault with intent to rape. Count 4, sexual battery involving restraint. Count 5, sexual assault under physical restraint. Each of these counts we've looked up multiple times. Each of these counts, depending on what the judge decides to do here, but if you stack all the counts, you're looking at life in prison. Each of these counts are somewhere between 5 to 20 years, and you're looking at life in prison there for Diddy, right? Who's 60. So just a reminder that it's white men like Trump who need to be banished, right? They're real dangerous. Okay. Diddy allegedly found guilty on these charges. Ladies and gentlemen, let's read. Diddy verdict cliffhanger as jury sent back to deliberate the key charge they cannot agree on. Ooh, it is not a good thing. Not a good thing for Diddy when, I said he was 60, he's 55, right? So he's on the wrong side of 50. Okay. When the juries come back so quickly, that means unanimous. And oftentimes, when a jury is deliberating someone's innocence, it takes a little while. Obviously, you can have one holdout. But when you have a jury return so swiftly, that's unanimity is what you're looking at there. That's why this is a very, very, very bad sign for Diddy. The jury in Sean Diddy Combs' trial reached a verdict for the 5 charges after 12 hours of deliberations. That's not a lot. But are stuck on a single count. At 4:05 on Tuesday, exactly 1 hour ago, barely 12 hours after they began deliberating, 8 weeks of evidence, the jury sent Judge Arun Subramanian a note that said they could not reach a verdict on the racketeering conspiracy. This is the first and the most controversial charge. The charge is applied to the notion that Diddy ran a criminal enterprise aided by staff to entrap and abuse women. The jurors cannot agree on whether or not it sticks, with jurors on both sides telling the court that they are unpersuadable. They have reached a verdict on the 4 other charges: sex trafficking, transportation, prostitution. 4 charges relate specifically to 2 women.
Diddy,
Cassie Ventura, and another ex-girlfriend. The disgraced music mogul who could spend the rest of his life in prison if convicted of those charges. After a tense hearing on Tuesday, the judge ordered the jury back into deliberations to reach a verdict on count 1. A tense-looking Diddy was surrounded by lawyers, his children, and mother watching nearby. Here we go. But, ladies and gentlemen, as the judge has sent the jurors back to deliberate, we will not see a full return for this final charge. Now, this charge, this RICO conspiracy charge, it's a tough one. And the government, led by James Comey's daughter, who strangely was able to sweep under the rug the charges for Epstein and the charges for Sam Bankman-Fried and the charges for Ghislaine Maxwell. She's deep state oligarch James Comey, through his daughter, her name's Maureen Comey, she's doing these trials. And according to the lawyers that we're talking with, she's blowing it. There's so many bigger things at stake here, but Diddy, they're just going to burn Diddy, alive, right? Metaphorically in court to protect what's really happening. Now, the racketeering charge is a tough one. The racketeering charge, the RICO charge, you're going to have to effectively prove that he's the kingpin. And you have to, typically how you do a racketeering charge is you get a bunch of the people, you prosecute a bunch of the people under Diddy. That hasn't happened here. You prosecute a ton of people that are underneath him. Ding, 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 right? And then it leads up and you get all of them to turn on their boss. And then you're able to prove a RICO charge. This is how it's done, the mafia, the mob, so on. But that hasn't been done here. That's why a lot of people are saying they're blowing the biggest charge. Judge Arun Subramanian told jurors to continue deliberating. They could not reach a verdict on count 1, racketeering conspiracy. I received your note that you reached verdicts on 2 through 5, but not on 1. I ask this time that you keep deliberating. The jury has left the courtroom to continue deliberations after the judge's instructions. Shortly after that, they sent a note to the court saying they'll continue deliberations at 9 a.m. Racketeering conspiracy is the most serious charge. Diddy faces a penalty of up to life in prison. There has been insane and explosive testimony inside of the court. So these are the charges that he's facing. If convicted of sex trafficking, he could face a minimum of 15 years, maximum life in prison. If convicted of engaging in prostitution, he could face 10 years in prison. This is why this is, I mean, listen, if you are able to stack these charges, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you're able to see life in prison for Diddy. You may never see Diddy as a free man ever again. Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, could Trump pardon Diddy? I hope not. Trump might pardon Diddy. What other celebs has he pardoned? Trump said he would consider a pardon for Diddy if convicted. President Trump was sort of caught off guard with this question, but he kind of like, off the cuff said, hey, Diddy's been really mean to me. But, I think about it. I really hope that he doesn't. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the full update on the Diddy trial from Fox. What a wild one. What a wild one. Okay, so expect to see, hopefully, a return tomorrow for what's about to happen to Diddy. But it's not looking good for him. When juries return this quickly, it typically means really bad things for guys like Diddy. Okay, here's the news.
Hey, Dana, great to be with you. So this is another explosive moment in the courtroom during this 2-month-long trial. Jurors announcing this afternoon that they were unable to reach a unanimous decision on...
I just showed y'all all this, But Diddy, what y'all think of this Diddy trial? Let me know in the comment section. All we can do is bring it to you, man. We knew it was going to happen, But oh boy, what they say, deliberated, deliver. Somebody on this, they ought to just send my granddaddy in there. Maybe he can come up with a decision, Maybe he can bake the pie. Because they don't want to bake the pie, They only want to take the pie out and let it defrost. They don't want to bake it, I tell you, the times that we living in, boy, I tell you. But hey, man, let me know what y'all think. I love y'all. God bless you all and your family. And I'll catch you on the next one, man. Peace and love, you guys.